What's good, y'all? Today is day 8 of reading, so you don't have to. And we got Atomic Habits. Let's go ahead and get our thumbnail. What face should we make today? Should we do some crazy shit? You like, I said, you won't believe what happened. But yeah, let's go ahead and get straight into it. Yesterday we talked about. Hold on, give me 1 second. Damn, where's the page at? Okay. Yesterday was small changes in context can lead to large changes in behavior. Every habit is initiated by a cue. Make cues a good habit. I think we talked about in the environment, making the environment good. And yeah, your environment changes a lot about your habits. You have to have a good environment to have good habits, things like that. If you, oh yeah, sitting, like I talked about how sitting at my desk is my business area. That's where I get straight work done. That's where I don't play no games, y'all. I don't. Straight productivity when I'm sitting here at this desk. But yeah, today is the secret to self-control, and that is a big, big thing. Self-control is what I've gained recently, and it's changed my life tremendously. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Not like going out like, oh yeah, nobody can tell me shit, like I'm doing whatever. But not like I am me personally. I can, my brain, like, bad habits don't take over anymore. Like, that little voice in your head that's always talking to you about like doing bad things. Like, nah, bro, I know how to control that. I know how to shut that out of my life. So yeah, today I'll be reading about the secret of self control. Not a long chapter at all today. Very short video, only 2-page chapter, which is not complaining. But let's get straight into it. The secret to self control. In 1971, as the Vietnam War was heading into its 16th year, Congressman Robert Steele from Connecticut and Morgan Murphy from Illinois made a discovery that stunned the American public. While visiting the troops, they had learned that over 15% of U.S. soldiers stationed there were heroin addicts. Follow-up research revealed that 35% of service members in Vietnam had tried the heroin, as many as 20% were addicted. The problem was even worse than it had initially thought. The discovery led to a flurry of activity in Washington, including the creation of the Special Action Office of Drug Abuse Prevention under President Nixon to promote prevention and rehabilitation and to track the addicted service members when they returned home. Lee Robbins was one of the researchers in charge, and a finding that completely upended the accepted beliefs about addiction. Robbins found that when soldiers who had been heroin users returned home, only 5% of them became re-addicted within a year, and just 12% relapsed within 3 years. In other words, approximately 9 out of 10 soldiers who used heroin in Vietnam eliminated their addiction nearly overnight. This finding contradicted the prevailing view at the time, which considered heroin addiction to be permanent and irreversible condition. Instead, Robbins revealed that the addictions could spontaneously dissolve if there was a radical change in the environment. In Vietnam, soldiers spent all day around by cues triggering heroin use. It was easy to access. They were engulfed by the constant stress of war. They built friendships with fellow soldiers who were also heroin users, and they were thousands of miles from home. Once a soldier returned to the United States, though, he found himself in an environment devoid of those triggers. When the context changed, so did the habit. Compare this situation to that type of typical drug user. Someone becomes addicted at home or with friends, goes to a clinic to get clean, which is devoid of all the environment stimuli that prompt their habit, then returns to their old neighborhood with all their previous cues that caused them to get addicted in the first place. It's no wonder that usually you see these numbers that are the exact opposite of those in the Vietnam study. Typically, 90% of heroin users become re-addicted once they return home from rehab. The Vietnam studies ran counter to many of our cultural beliefs about bad habits because it challenged the conventional association of unhealthy behavior as a moral weakness. If you're overweight, a smoker, or an addict, you've been told your entire life that is because you lack self-control. Maybe even that you are a bad person. The idea that a little bit of discipline will solve all your problems is deeply embedded in our culture. Recent research, however, shows something different. When scientists analyze people who appear to have tremendous self-control, it turns out those individuals aren't all that different from those who are struggling. Instead, disciplined people are better at structuring their lives in a way that does not require heroic willpower and self-control. In other words, they spend less time in tempting situations. The people with the best self-control are typically the ones who need to use it the least. It's easier to practice self-restraint when you don't have to use it very often. So yes, perseverance, grit, and willpower are essential to success. But the way to improve these qualities is not by wishing you were a more disciplined person, but by creating a more disciplined environment. This counterintuitive idea makes more sense when you understand what happens when a habit is formed in the brain. A habit that has been encoded in the mind is ready to be used whenever the relevant situation arises. When Patty Allwell, a therapist from Austin, Texas, started smoking, she would often light up while riding horses with a friend. Eventually, she quit smoking and avoided it for years. She had also stopped riding. Decades later, she hopped on a horse again and found herself craving a cigarette for the first time in forever. The cues were still internalized. She just hasn't been exposed to them in a long time. Once a habit has been encoded, the urge to act follows whenever the environment cues reappear. This is the one reason behavior change technique can backfire. Shaming obese people with weight loss presentations can make them feel stressed, and as a result, many people return to their favorite coping strategy, overeating. Showing pictures of blackened lungs to smokers leads to higher levels of anxiety, which drives many people to reach for a cigarette. If you're not careful about cues, you can cause the very behavior you want to stop. Bad habits are autocatalytic. Habits are autocatalytic. The process feeds itself. They foster the feelings they try to numb. You feel bad, so you eat junk food. Because you eat junk food, you feel bad. Watching television makes you feel sluggish, so you watch more television because you don't have the energy to do something else. Worrying about your health makes you feel anxious, which causes you to smoke to ease your anxiety, which makes your health even worse, and soon you're feeling more anxious. It's a downward spiral, a runaway train of bad habits. Researchers refer the phenomenon as cue-induced wanting, an external trigger that causes a compulsive craving to repeat a bad habit. Once you notice something, you begin to want it. This process is happening all the time, often without us realizing it. Scientists have found that showing addicts a picture of cocaine for just 33 milliseconds stimulates the reward pathway in the brain and sparks a desire. This speed is too fast for the brain to consciously register. The addicts couldn't even tell you what they had seen, but they craved the drug all the same. Here's the punchline. You can break a habit, but you're unlikely to forget it. Once the mental grooves of that habit have been carved into your brain, they are nearly impossible to remove entirely, even if they go unused for quite a while. And that means simply resisting temptation is an effective strategy. It is hard to maintain Zen attitude in a life filled with interruptions. It takes too much energy in the short run. You can choose to overpower temptation. In the long run, we become a product of the environment that we live in. To put it bluntly, I have never seen someone consistently stick to positive habits in a negative environment. A more reliable approach is to cut bad habits off at the source. One of the most practical ways to eliminate bad habits is to reduce exposure to the cue that causes it. If you can't seem to get any work done, leave your phone in another room for a few hours. If you are continually feeling like you're not enough, stop following social media accounts that trigger jealousy and envy. If you're wasting too much time watching television, move the TV out your bedroom. If you're spending too much money on electronics, quit reading reviews of the latest tech gear. If you're playing too many video games, unplug the console and put it in the closet after each use. This practice is an inversion of the first law of behavior change. Rather than make it obvious, you can make it invisible. I'm often surprised by how effective simple changes like these can be. Remove a single cue and the entire habit often fades away. Self-control is a short-term strategy, not a long-term one. You may be able to resist temptation once or twice, but it is unlikely that you can muster the willpower to override your desires every time. Instead of summoning a new dose of willpower whenever you want to do the right thing, your energy will be better spent optimizing your environment. This is the secret to self-control. Make the cues of your good habits obvious and the cues of your bad habits invisible. And that is it for this chapter, man. Yeah, here you go. It's another chart at the end of this. So I can see right here. Yeah, there you go. Pause the video if y'all need to, but yeah. The second law. And we're on to the second law, man. So we making progress. Y'all, I hope y'all learning a lot of sauce from this book. Because when I read this book the first time, it was that one. Alright. But Yeah, basically what I got from that, if y'all don't know already, y'all people don't even watch. I think my last video had like 6 views. Okay, I'll be in like 5 views a video. So if you actually watch this fully through, y'all know I quit smoking about 23 days ago. Nicotine and weed, and weed is not such a big deal. I'm not really stressing over that because that is not a very addictive chemical. But nicotine, every time I saw nicotine, it was, and even those cues, like even after eating, you know it's the best time to hit Nick. If y'all don't know, that is chef's kiss. But yeah, every time I eat, I still think of how I used to hit the nicotine after, and it's always just brings it back. But self control, I have no nicotine in my environment. I don't even want to step near that. And especially when I first started, my friends would come over, they would smoke and stuff, but I would have to go to my room just to step away from the environment. You feel what I'm saying? Because your environment, eventually, that shit's gonna take over. Because you can't say no forever. You can't, like the book said. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'm about to upload both of these videos. All the links link in my bio. Please go check them out. But yeah, thank y'all.